We are not going to take you to that game. Is that correct? Am I hearing you correctly? Yes. We're going to stay right here and continue to cover the passing of Kobe Bryant. For the moment, obviously, it's a fluid situation. Just to recap, just after 3:30 Eastern time now, the L.A. County Sheriff's Department confirmed earlier today that there was a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California, just north of Los Angeles, involving 5 passengers, none of whom survived. Multiple media outlets have reported since then, starting with TMZ, the first to report it, that Kobe Bryant was on board that helicopter and is gone at the age of 41. There is the crash site, and you see the smoke from the chopper as well. That's Calabasas is, again, sort of north and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, a little east of Malibu. It's a hilly area. I don't know the circumstances, and we're not going to speculate on what caused the helicopter crash, but that's kind of gives you at least a sense at home of where this took place.
Yeah, and and as you talked about, that was his mode of transportation. A lot of times, there were times when we got back from a road trip at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, get off the plane, and he would have the helicopter waiting. He would get off the plane, get on the helicopter to fly back to Newport, where he lived, which was, in LA traffic, with no traffic to get to Newport, probably 45 to 50 minutes, but, more like an hour and a half usually. So he did, take a helicopter a lot. On game days, would fly to land actually on a building in downtown LA, and then have a car service bring him to the games, and then get home that same way. So, like you said, just he traveled that way all the time, and so unfortunate to have this happen.
And if you've spent any time trying to get around LA, you understand why that makes sense for someone, especially someone who lived in Newport, which is not, as the crow flies, not that far from downtown Los Angeles, but in terms of traffic, getting up the 405 and getting there is a world away. Sure. I don't think people at home maybe appreciate the network that is the NBA in terms of coaches and players and who knows who through other connections. Can you give folks at home a sense of just how many people will have had a first or second degree connection to Kobe Bryant around the league?
Well, I mean, actually, by NBA standards, not that many with a first-degree connection, because this is one of the rare guys who spent a 20-year career all with one organization. Good point. So a lot of other people jump around. So for most of us, we only know him from the times he was beating the heck out of us. I didn't know him. I've had brief conversations with him on the court, when he would walk by the bench. And that was about it. But the level of respect that everybody has for him and what he did for our game and everything else, I think will unite even those of us who didn't know him well. And then people like Brian, obviously, who had the opportunity to play with him or coach him or, even compete against him on the floor. I'm talking about players. A little closer connection, and this day is about as bad as it can get.
All right, Bill Russell, one of the great champions of all time, is among those weighing in about Kobe Bryant's passing. Shocked, he writes, to hear of the loss of one of my favorite people and one of the best basketball minds in the history of the game. Hearts and prayers to Vanessa and his girls. Kobe, you were my biggest fan, but I was yours. R.I.P. Mamba. Let's bring in Sean Powell from NBA.com. He is with us from El Segundo outside the Lakers practice facility today. And I don't know. The Lakers have been on the road, so I don't know what if they're headed back. I don't know what if anything was scheduled to happen there today, but what's going on there now?
Well, nothing is scheduled to happen today, Matt, but every 2 minutes, cars are coming by and it's sort of slowing down. People are pointing. You have to understand that tonight you have the Grammy Awards at Staples Center, and it's a highly secured area, so I would be surprised if, people would gather outside of Staples Center tonight. The Lakers and Clippers obviously have a game Tuesday. But look, you can't, you can't really even put into context the popularity that Kobe has in Los Angeles and Southern California. I mean, he came into the NBA, to the Lakers at age 18, and basically basketball fans here grew up watching him and watched him grow up also. You have today's NBA players who never saw Michael Jordan play. They grew up on the NBA watching Kobe Bryant. So his reach here is far and wide. His popularity is enormous. You're talking about a guy who spent 20 years with one franchise, as Coach Van Gundy mentioned, 5 titles, 18-time All-Star, MVP. And I think a lot of people here are just still trying to process it all, just really what happened. As Brian Shaw mentioned, Kobe sort of got around a little bit by helicopter. He lived in Newport Beach, which is down in Orange County, and with L.A. traffic, it will take you forever to travel anywhere north. So that was convenient for him. It wasn't rare for him to take a helicopter to games at Staples Center. But again, people here are still, like us all, we're all in a state of shock. And we're just not sure how to process it all.
No, completely understandable. And I want to get to your earlier point about just how beloved Kobe Bryant was in Los Angeles. Obviously, it's a Laker town. The Clippers even acknowledge that. And just from covering the league over the last, whatever it's been for me, decade and a half plus, there is a loyalty to Kobe Bryant among his fans that is just unparalleled to me in anything I've ever covered sports-wise. Look, he's an all-time great. There's no debate about that. Everyone's going to have their own rankings on where Kobe Bryant should land in terms of all-time great NBA players. But his fans are unrelenting in their belief that he is the absolute best, and there's no talking them out of it. Can you describe the sort of, again, I hate to go back to the word loyalty, but the loyalty that accompanies their allegiance to Kobe Bryant?
Well, not only loyalty, I think the word is worship.
Yes.
Kobe was worshipped here. Again, he came along at the right time. He sort of took the baton from Michael Jordan. I think you saw the popularity of the NBA start to soar. The Lakers were obviously high profile. He had those championships with Shaq. When Shaq left, Kobe stayed. So there was some loyalty there. They saw him go through some tough times after that and then get back basically to the winner's circle a few years later. So I think because of that continuity with the Lakers and the fact that the fans sort of stuck with them through thick and thin, I think that's where the bond began. And you even heard some rumblings when LeBron James came here that that loyalty was still to Kobe Bryant. It was a hard shift to LeBron James. Only because I just, again, basketball fans here of a certain age, in their 20s and 30s, that's who they knew. They didn't know Jerry West. They didn't really know Magic Johnson in Showtime. They didn't know Wilt Chamberlain. They knew Kobe Bryant. And so basketball fans here attached themselves to Kobe, and he did not disappoint.
Probably too early to ask you or for the Lakers to have formulated any sort of a plan, but they are scheduled to play Tuesday night at home against the L.A. Clippers, a game of some significance, although it takes on a whole different tenor now. Is there any sense within the organization of what they might do about that game in terms of treatment and tone? Or I assume it'll be played at this point because we're playing in Denver this afternoon, but any sense of what might happen Tuesday night?
Well, under the assumption that the game will be played, and we haven't heard anything otherwise from the NBA office, I would imagine it's basically going to be a tribute to Kobe Bryant, as it should be. There's nothing scheduled. Usually the day before a game, there's probably a practice scheduled, but again, we haven't heard anything from the Lakers. I really think they're trying to process it all themselves and how they will go about from here honoring Kobe Bryant, recognizing Kobe Bryant, and also understanding that there are some games to be played. But I do expect that will be a very emotional night Tuesday. Everybody will be in mourning. There's no other way to describe it. Everyone will be in mourning. And again, but how that happens, what will take place before the game, halftime, during the game, we just don't know yet.
Yeah, I asked because that's what we do, Sean, as you know, but I'm sure the Lakers have no idea at this point and are still trying to figure it out. There are a lot of longtime employees there who were there throughout Kobe Bryant's Hall of Fame career. Sean Powell with us from NBA.com outside the Lakers practice facility in El Segundo, and we appreciate it. Sean, give us a call back if you have any updates.
Anytime, guys.
All right. To Sean's point, I talked about the sort of fervor with which Kobe's fans worshipped him. I mean, you could have all the numbers debates you wanted to with fans about this player or this player, but the folks in Kobe's corner weren't going to hear any of that. There was no logic, played no part in any argument. Metrics played no part in any argument. Kobe was their guy. And I guess the question for you, having been around L.A. as long as you were, is where does he rank in a town full of celebrities and obviously great sports history as well? How many people there are more popular than Kobe Bryant?
I don't know that there is anyone more popular. I think, Magic Johnson said a couple of years ago that he said himself that Kobe is the greatest Laker. I always looked at Magic as the greatest Laker, having grown up on him. And, but for him to even say that and recognize the love and the obsession that Kobe's fans had with him in L.A. And having been in, last year, being on the coaching staff in L.A. when LeBron arrived to L.A., Kobe's fans made it very evident that Kobe was still the man in L.A. and made LeBron's arrival somewhat tumultuous.
There was some upset that the Lakers were bringing in LeBron James simply because he presented a rival to Kobe Bryant's legacy.
Well, not only that, but just and as great as a player as LeBron is, just the difference in their mentality as well. LeBron is a guy who he has a lot of friends around the league. He hangs out with guys on opposing teams. During the season, goes to get dinner with his buddies on other teams after games and things like that. Kobe was not doing any of that. He didn't have any friends when it came to basketball. If you weren't on his team, then you weren't with him, you were against him. And so he had no interest in being buddy-buddy with anybody else because you were competing against him and trying to achieve and accomplish what he wanted to achieve and accomplish. And to him, you were in his way. And even when he went to play for the U.S. team in the Olympics, in the summer games, he didn't look at those situations, even in all-star games, like he still competed at a very high level. He used those instances to find the weaknesses of the guys that he was going to still have to face during the rest of the season. I remember him coming back from All-Star break and saying, the rest of those guys, they were just letting each other dunk and doing this and laughing and this, that, and the other. But when we practice, I was finding out what their weaknesses are because we got to see this guy in a couple of weeks. And that was just his mentality all the time. And I think that that's something that the Laker fans saw because they were able to witness that every day and they were able to feel that. And that's why their love for him is so great. And the other thing is, as amazing as the highlights that we've seen of his play, some of the best highlights that I've ever seen of Kobe Bryant were in practice that nobody will ever get a chance to see. He's done, he is as great and incredible moves that he's made on the floor, even more so in practice every day, because obviously, we practiced a lot and it was a little bit more laid back, but you got to see him do some things that just really, really made you shake your head. And
that was a trait you heard often about the player on whom he modeled his game, Michael Jordan. People talked about his intensity in practice as well. And that single-mindedness you described is very much an old school kind of approach, because players, as Brian mentioned today, they've all known each other since they were teenagers through the AAU circuit, et cetera. And they're competitive, but there's not the same level of, okay, this is my team, this is my side, you're over there.
No, look, I think the great competitors, like Brian said, the great competitors, you don't turn that off. They want to win everything. They want to win every shooting game in practice. They want to win every scrimmage. They want to win every game. I mean, they just and Kobe came up in the time where guys still played big minutes in games. There was not such a thing as load management. I mean, they wanted to go out there every single night and compete, and Kobe was certainly as competitive a guy as we've ever seen in this league.
The LA County Sheriff's Department will hold a news conference at 5 o'clock Eastern Time to give more details on this helicopter crash, which reportedly carried or killed Kobe Bryant today at the age of 41. Lots of reaction around social media. If you're like us, this is probably the first place you saw the initial reports of Kobe's passing. Dominique Wilkins among those weighing in. I have no words. Godspeed, my friend Kobe Bryant. Joel Embiid doesn't even know where to start, like the rest of us. I started playing ball because of Kobe after watching the 2010 finals. I'd never watched ball before that, and that finals was the turning point of my life. I wanted to be like Kobe. I'm so freaking sad right now. R.A.P. legend. Tony Parker, heartbroken by the news. A true legend, he called him, and a friend. Rest in peace. Thoughts and prayers to his wife and children. Again, Kobe Bryant, the father of 4, leaves behind his wife Vanessa as well. Reggie Miller, our colleague, this is piercing my soul. Prayers to the Bryant family, hard to even comprehend. It is, and that is that initial reaction, the one that we had, shock, dismay, disbelief, that's pervaded the entire league, and anybody who's watched basketball or covered basketball.